Amy Tibu, welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Dialing you in from Indiana, and I have Penn Harris Madison School Corporation.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I teach at Penn
that's
High
a
School, which is part of a corporation that includes like three middle schools and 13 elementary schools. We have one high school, and I really enjoy teaching here. It's a great school.
sounds like it's quite the campus, quite the whole big operation there, just based on a peek online.
Oh yeah, when I first moved here from East Tennessee and we were kind of getting to know the area, I we drove past this school and I was like, "Oh, what college is that?" No, that's a high school. Wow. So it's been, they built this school in the 50s. And it was kind of interesting because it was like the first school that had like some special like boiler system. It was like new technology back then. I don't remember. And they had like an indoor swimming pool, and it was just a big deal. And they were just expanding out into the cornfields of northern Indiana as the city was growing. We're located really close to Notre Dame
Okay,
University,
okay.
and um, so families from kind of all over the world that are coming. Their parents are coming to teach there. We have a lot of pretty reputable hospitals in the area, and so we get a lot of those kids. And then we have just east of us is a lot of manufacturing. So we have like the building RVs and tool and die kind of stuff. And so, yeah, we're just kind of not a
Yeah,
lot of corn farmers anymore,
yeah, yeah.
less and
So,
less of that.
so a pretty big high school, pretty comprehensive, large high school.
It is, we have about 3,900 students for
Okay, yeah,
grades 9 through
yeah.
12.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds terrific. So, sounds like you enjoy strong community supports from the area.
Yeah. Yeah. The program that I'm involved in, teaching Project Lead the Way, really encourages a lot of community ties. And so we will invite speakers in. We're trying to really get the kids to choose if they're taking my class, we're trying to steer them into the healthcare field and the career that they might be a best fit for. And so I really appreciate that because I think as a kid, if I would have kind of had a little bit of guidance from my school in that regard, I might have chosen the healthcare field, but anyway, here I am and I'm helping these kids. So that's good.
Yeah. What would tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get into this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is my 11th year teaching, so I started a little later in life, and before I did that, I worked in the education department at the Knoxville Zoo in Tennessee. I was doing a little bit of illustration for them with their signage. I have an art degree and a biology degree. And I was working a little bit with the education department at the Knoxville Museum of Art and just working with other youth groups in the area. So I was always kind of working with kids and sort of in an educational role, but never was a licensed teacher all those years. Actually, my first job right out of college was in graphic design. So
Yeah. So did you have to go back then and get a teaching degree?
I did. When we moved up here to Indiana, I just had to kind of reevaluate what my goals were. And I'm like, everything that I do, that I've been doing these past few years has been with kids, and I love writing curriculum. And so I went to Bethel College and got my master's in teaching. And that was just the best decision ever because I absolutely love what I do. It's great.
How about the science aspect? Because if you start out as a graphic designer and then work in the education department at the zoo and the art museum, it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily sound like it leads straight into science and human anatomy.
That's a very good question. My dad was a biologist, and I he kind of inspired me. I think even as a little kid, and he was a fisheries biologist, so he was working out in the field all of the time, conducting research, and My mom was a school teacher, and my neighbor was a neurosurgeon at the vet school. And so I was kind of had some pretty good influences in that respect. But no, I wasn't really doing a lot with science per se in those 20 years after college. I was just, I kind of almost had to reteach myself. So I took a lot of graduate hours in biology and to kind of like get back in the groove. And it was a great decision. I'm really happy I did that. I don't think I'm the kind of person that could probably do the same thing for 40 years straight, you know?
It
So
did with all that help around you, did it come somewhat easily? Because that would be a huge challenge, I would think.
it wasn't too bad. I like to
Yeah,
learn.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, let's take us into today then with your programs at your high school. Tell us what you teach and about your department maybe as a whole.
Yeah. So I don't know if your listeners are familiar with Project Lead the Way. So I'll
Yeah,
just kind of
I think so. Yeah,
this up.
but go ahead. Yeah.
And so when I was hired on at the high school, I just assumed I was going to be teaching biology, but they asked, would you like to get trained in Project Lead the Way? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. What's that? You know? And when I did the training, it was all this wonderful hands-on learning. And it was so exciting to me. I'm like, this is how I really retain information in the best way. You know, I think they've kind of debunked the idea that you're only a visual learner, auditory, or hands-on. Like, I don't think we can say that we fit into a discrete category like that. We all need that hands-on aspect of it. So there's something about that, the connection between your hands, especially working with clay, I think just really kind of solidifies a lot of those concepts. So that was wonderful. In college, I, of course, got an art degree and a biology degree. So I really intended to blend the two of them all along.
Okay.
I wanted to do medical illustration. And so I put up here on the wall behind me, this was just a project, just a sketch that I did back in college. I kind of hung on to that, but I've got quite a lot of illustrations like that and have illustrated a science book, it wasn't a big publication or anything, but something locally. I was hired on to do that. And like I said, doing the signage at the Knoxville Zoo, some of that stuff I've enjoyed. You do have to have an understanding of anatomy when you're doing those kinds of illustrations, for sure, I think. So another thing that was kind of cool in college, there weren't a lot, it was a very small college, but there were only 2 students at that college who were getting degrees in art and biology. And so, so we kind of had a little niche pathway that we were doing, but we got to work in the gross anatomy lab, and we would just sit and just sketch. And that was a fantastic experience. Learning exactly what I knew what I was looking at, and it helped me to be able to draw it better. So that was really cool.
That's great. So what classes do you teach today at your high school?
I have now transitioned into teaching this second level Project Lead the Way class called Human Body Systems.
Yep.
So we have a block schedule. So on the black days, I teach that class only. And then on the other days, the gold days, I teach AP Bio.
Gotcha.
So the anatomy in clay is used in the Human Body Systems class.
Right, right. And how long have you been using it? Tell me a little story about where you first encountered it. Was it through Project Lead the Way?
Yeah, it was. So it was after that first year, they closed all the schools down for COVID. We came back and we were kind of hybrid. So it was pretty much, there wasn't a lot of hands-on learning going on. It was just sitting in front of a screen. You had some kids in the classroom and some at home. And that was a challenge for all of us, you know, kind of missing that piece so much. And after spring break, the administration said, hey, our human body systems and AP bio teacher, she has to leave. She got a job in another state and she's leaving like now. So can you just take all her classes? And so luckily I had a student teacher that year. So she took all my classes. I was teaching freshman biology and I was teaching the first year PDS. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. Cause I really wanted to, like, I was so excited, but it was so hard, you know, to just
Yeah.
things like that. So I go into her room and I'm looking up on the top of the cupboards and I see all these mannequins up there with clay on them that had kind of been sitting there since 2020 when the schools closed down. And there were 32 of them. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. The only problem is they still had all the clay on them. So I had to
Oh boy.
all apart. Get it
Yeah.
all organized, get them all cleaned off. So that was quite a process. But that is just my favorite part of my class. I have them all around my room right now, and I have this one here.
Yeah.
And this one was completed last year, and I hung on to it. So I let the remaining 31 models are in use right now and being built. But I was really proud of these girls because their artistic flair really shows, I think, in the quality of their work. So I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm gonna use that as my example.
Yeah. Yeah. What specific body systems do you focus on? And yeah, talk to us a little bit about how you incorporate it in the flow.
Okay, sure. At every lab station, I have mannequins sitting out ready to go. Like we want to, if I'm going to do a clay build day, I really want it to be kind of a less than 30-minute experience for them.
Okay.
So we will start off with a lesson on maybe just facial features or something like that. And we'll talk about how your muscles contribute to your identity or something like that. And so we'll show, you guys have some wonderful videos that you've made to show kids how much clay do I need for this and how do I apply this, and teaching about origins and insertions of muscles. And so we'll do that teaching bit first and some kind of letting them see it up on the screen, and then they're going to go to their station. Their mannequins right there in front of them. Their first drawer has all their tools, their clays in a little bin, and they just get to building. And so I'm just walking around the whole time, and I'm kind of like just making sure that they're doing things correctly. And it's funny how like teenagers will nod their head and say they understand something, or they'll fill out a worksheet and think they understand it, but actually going and placing that clay in the right spot is where I really see if there's any misconceptions, you know?
Yep.
Imagine building a bicep and only attaching it to the humerus, right? It's not
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's exactly what I see when I walk around sometimes. I'm like, okay, let's remember our muscle rules. Every muscle must cross at least one joint, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it really kind of, it's a learning tool, and it's an accountability piece too, because they have to show me, they have to prove that they know those muscle rules, you know? So
Yeah.
and like I said, it's kind of quick, and then we come back to their desks and we'll continue with other aspects of the lesson. So that's
Well,
kind of
why?
how
Yeah, I'm interested in the 30-minute idea. What did you learn something along the way that going longer didn't pay dividends, or what's that?
we just have a lot to do in my class. And
Yeah.
so we might be using vernier technology, and like we might be doing other kinds of labs, but HBS really wants us to use these mannequins for every body system that we study. And so I think they chunk it so that it's really easy to go in and kind of get it and get something added to it and then come back and do more things. So I don't know if I answered that very well, but
Yeah, no, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think after a while, if you gave them an hour and a half, they'd probably start sticking clay on themselves, to be honest.
Yeah.
With it.
Yeah.
But they do
Yeah.
enjoy it. And I wanted to
I was about to
see
ask.
response to it was, like, do you
Yeah.
really like this, or what, how do you learn from it? And so I included it in a test question on our unit test last week. And I have a few little quotes to read to
Oh,
you. So I said, my question on the test was, and this was for one whole point on this 100-point test. I said, write one hands-on activity that you remember doing and what new skill did you learn from it? So they could have picked anything. And I have 71 students. And I had about 10 of them talk specifically about the mannequins. So here's some of the things they said. They said, I remember the activity where we put muscles on our skeletons. I learned where they go and if they are striated or not. Well, they are all striated, but this helps me to be able to see an in-person view of the muscles in the body. I thought, well, that's good. Another one said, I remember the part where we used clay to demonstrate where all of the muscles of the head are. And so then they started naming some of the muscles. It says, we've mostly just done muscles, to be honest. We're going to be switching to nerves soon. This one was kind of funny. It says, using our mannequins to put muscles on the body, I learned that there's more muscle in different spaces. I can make it so there are certain parts of the body that the muscle can be thicker or thinner. And if there's more muscle around someone's lips, their lips are going to be bigger. But they were kind of tying it to like identity. And so there's a lot of quotes like that from the kids, but they also said that this one says, I gained the skill of working together as a group. And I like that part too. And kind of along those lines, at the beginning of the year, when I'm kind of assigning them a mannequin, and I like groups of 2 the best, I think, because that keeps everybody engaged, I feel like, the most. Definitely having a partner for the whole year and working together to build all of the body systems on this mannequin is causing them to kind of check each other. Like if one person's about to put some clay and attach it to the clavicle, maybe it's the pectoralis or something, they're making sure, oh no, don't do the sternum yet. Let's do the, make sure that you get the right origin on that. And they're checking each other first of all, before the teacher comes around to kind of double check it again. So I like that accountability piece. And I've noticed that if a student is all alone working on a project because maybe their partner was absent that day, it's a lot harder for them. Because like I said, I don't give them the whole class to work on it. So they kind of have to work really fast. So having a partner is really helpful.
Yeah. So I'm just curious in terms of other systems that you use for teaching. Anatomy and clay is side by side with other instructional methods as well. It's clearly just one of the tools you use.
Yeah, one of the things a project that we're working on right now is, I just use the curriculum for Project Lead the Way, and they're creating personalized plans, and the students are putting themselves in the position of being a physical therapist, and they have a cohort of physical therapists that are going to treat a patient. So for instance, one of the patients is Hazel. She's a kindergartner and she has cerebral palsy. And so they have this patient portal that they go into online on the website, and they get all of her data, her range of motion measurements. They're learning about any of the imaging that was done on her, like her brain. And so they're interpreting x-rays, they're learning how to do range of motion, they're learning about assistive devices, and they are instructed to go build all of her affected musculature on their mannequin. And once they've spent like, a good month and a half just learning about Hazel, then they are going to put together a personalized care plan for her. And so we're going to film our videos tomorrow, I guess. And what they're going to do is they're going to just hold their mannequin, and they're going to they're going to talk about her affected areas, and then they're going to demonstrate some exercises that they're going to do with her and talk about how long that would take. And then some of my other kids have, another group has an elderly lady, another one has like a woman farmer, a male athlete, and then a young boy with a form of arthritis. And so I think I like how the mannequin doesn't feel like it's a totally separate project and we only think about one thing when we're doing that. We're really using it now it's a teaching tool, right? And so kids seem to learn best when they have to teach something to someone else. And so I like that aspect of particular project anyway. So, but I don't know if you were asking me about other types of
no
that we learned in my class, but that is that kind of ties together a lot of different labs.
Sounds very connected to the real world and bringing in real case studies kind of to your classroom. It's great. Yeah. Are there any particular systems that you find the students really have aha moments with in terms of learning about themselves and their bodies?
Just coming off the muscles, they are learning that how to best fuel their bodies in order to have optimal muscle contraction. I think that was a big thing. They didn't realize that the muscle's made up of a lot of little fibers, and they're very detailed, and there's a whole sliding filament theory that they need to understand. And so they're really taking a look at histology and understanding some of these things that they kind of knew on a surface level, but learning about all of the different ions and molecules that are involved. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I think in the past, my students have really, when we talk about the urinary system, they realize how water's regulated in the body. And I think that's kind of been a good lesson for them too. So I don't know, but it's all interesting.
Yeah. Do you find that your students, 11 years you've been there, are some of them bound for further medical training, medical school? Are they thinking doctor, nurse practitioner?
Yes, if they have made it to year 2 with Project Lead the Way, they're definitely not just getting a science credit anymore. We're going to set them up with a summer internship, hopefully, or some kind of science research over at Notre Dame. The hospitals are great at hosting mini medical weeks for the kids to go do a lot of volunteering and learning. They have some specialized programs for them in the summer, which are excellent. And yes, I would say the majority of these students they have gone on and are, I guess, in medical school now. Mostly doctors, but a lot of nurses too. So.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for other teachers who might be looking at this for the first time and might be considering pulling anatomy and clay into their classroom? Do you have any suggestions or tips about how to get going with it?
It's a big investment. And if I know Project Lead the Way offers grant cycles that can really aid in purchasing these. So I would definitely take advantage of writing grants for that. And really having the mannequins out and visible is, as soon as people walk into my room, they see these mannequins all over the place, and having them there where it's easy to get to them in the teaching hour. I think teachers shouldn't feel intimidated by, once you get past the cost and you buy them and you've got them, get it all organized. And the kids really like to take ownership of this project because they're with this mannequin all year. They kind of get attached to it. So
Yeah.
it's, if you want to make the class a little bit extra fun, definitely do the mannequins. That's really a fun piece for them. They like to, and just even, anything you can do to get a kid up out of their seat and working, standing and talking with each other. I mean, it's a fun time, and we like doing it. So
Yeah.
I think my advice probably to a teacher would be like, if possible, try to have them working in groups of 2. If you have to do groups of 3, and I have, that works, but I'd say don't do 4. Try to keep it small.
Yeah. Very good.
So
Well, this has been a great rundown, Amy. It sounds like it's just part of the water that all of you swim in there. It's part of your flow in the classroom. Yeah.
I don't know if human body systems would be quite the same without these mannequins. I really like them. And another thing is, like, I was trying to talk to my administrators about how long have we had human body systems, because I want to know how old this clay is that I have.
Yeah.
Possible that we've had these since 2008, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. That's a long time, and I've not had to buy any new clay in
Wow.
all that time. And so the kids are really good. Like, that would be another piece of advice. Like, have the kids dismantle these mannequins at the end of the year. It is not your job to do that. And then what I do is I have them take a selfie with them and their mannequin when they have the clay on. Then they take another one later when it's off. They get 20 points the first time and 20 points for the second picture. And it's got to be squeaky clean. And so they work really hard to kind of like separate all that clay out nice and neatly. And I'm so proud of them. And it saves me a lot of work. So I would definitely recommend doing that.
Sounds like you know your way around student motivation, that's for sure. All right. Well, Amy, thank you so much for your time today and coming on the podcast. We wish you well and appreciate all your insights.
Thanks. It was great talking to you.